Good evening. Today is March 3rd, and that's 33. And today we had a shooting at the White House, in front of the White House. A man allegedly shot himself dead. According to witnesses, the man was screaming for gun control just before he put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger. And in Michigan, they finally caught the black dude, the black Muslim dude with ties to white nationalist groups and Black Lives Matter. They caught him somewhere. His parents, apparently his father is a cop. This is a photograph of his parents that he allegedly killed. As you can see, they're laughing their asses off at how gullible the public is to believe this BS. And yesterday they announced that every victim of the Las Vegas massacre is going to get $275,000. So who says crime doesn't pay? And this really came as a surprise. The National Park Service denied a permit to the anti-gun rally March for Our Lives that was scheduled to take place on March 24th. Instead, they're going to have to move the rally somewhere else. They wanted to have it at the National Mall, but apparently they're having like a pet talent show at the National Mall on March 24th. So apparently none of these kids have looked up to see if the National Mall was already booked. No word yet where they plan to meet.
This is our first full show back since the tragic shooting in Florida. And first of all, I want to say that our hearts go out to the families of the teachers and students that were killed, but our hearts also go out to the students who survived, because what they had to live through and what they have to live with is something I can't even imagine. And I think what the students of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School are doing is unbelievable. They're speaking out with more guts, passion, conviction, and common sense than most adults.
That's because they are adults. You know, just 2 weeks ago, these kids were eating Tide Pods and choking on spoonfuls of cinnamon. Now they're leading a multi-million-dollar, highly organized, Hollywood-backed extravaganza gun control march. Quite an accomplishment for a bunch of kids who were eating detergent just 2 weeks ago. I think it's amazing, though, how, CNN only had 5 of the students. They only interviewed 5 of the 3,300 students at the high school.
They're high school students. It's beyond impressive. That strength that they have, it's inspiring. They are angry, and they're doing something about it and creating change. This is a real revolution.
So what's really remarkable is that they want us to give up our constitutional rights so that these kids can feel safe going to school. But, I've got some solutions for this. It's deplorable that they would think that people would give up their freedom and rights. And, the sad part is I think people would give up all their freedom and rights just to make these kids feel safe at school. The only thing that's going to make these kids safe at school is if we arm every student with an AR-15. Because everybody has a right to defend themselves. And as we've seen, you should never leave your personal security or safety up to a complete stranger just because they have a license to carry a gun or a license to kill. Personal safety is up to each individual. Every individual has a right to protect themselves. And last week, the kids at Parkland High, Marjory Stoneman Douglas, whatever the hell it's called, returned to school. Bless their little hearts. They returned to school accompanied by hundreds of police officers pointing machine guns at them. And the students said they felt, we feel so much safer having machine guns pointed at us everywhere we go. So congratulations to them. I guess when they returned to school, they weren't allowed to bring backpacks. No backpacks were allowed in school. And also no shoes, no socks, no pants, no shirt, and no underwear. But by far the biggest news story of the weekend, it was on Fox, it was on CNN, it was on MSNBC, was the riveting story of how Richie from Boston got his channel back. He hired a fancy, high-priced lawyer who called Google and the next day had his channel restored. Now, if we could just use that lawyer as a weapon against chemtrails, we might be able to save the world. In other news, LiveLeak did a major upgrade on March 3rd because March 3rd is 33. So they completely revamped their entire site and everyone hates it. Everyone absolutely hates it. They hate the look. They hate the feel. Everybody complains that it looks too much like YouTube. LiveLeak is mostly death and destruction. If you like watching people die or suffer or get killed or kill themselves, this is the place to go. But if you enjoy watching people get hurt or die, this is definitely a channel you'll enjoy. Now, one of the great things that they've done here, it looks like, is they've added live streaming capability. So you can do live streaming to LiveLeak. You can create a broadcast channel and live stream your suicide or murder. I was looking at it yesterday, and I saw a bunch of people doing some live streams. It's got a lot of bugs still, but they're still working it out. Now, this video here, Man Eats Live Seafood Dish, was horrifying. This was the terrible, terrible video. This man in some third world country with a set of chopsticks was preparing to eat this live seafood when it jumped off his plate and ran across the table. And he grabbed it with his chopsticks and held it down, pinned its leg down against the table with one of his chopsticks while he taunted and threatened it with the other one. And then he grabbed it by the leg and slowly dragged it back to his plate. And this thing was kicking and screaming and hollering and crying. And he proceeded to nibble off the legs one at a time. He just nibbled the legs off while this poor thing was screaming and hollering and flapping around and waving its legs everywhere. It was horrifying. It was like watching a horror movie. At one point, I think the seafood even screamed out, "Please, I've got 6,000 children back in the ocean." This video is about 30 minutes long. It took him 30 minutes to eat that poor fish, but he finally did, and put all of our suffering out of its misery. Now, this follows a video that was #1 on LiveLeak 2 weeks ago, of a man wiping his ass with a brick. Man wiping his ass with a brick got like 100,000 views the first day. It's incredible. It's amazing what people, I mean, that was a real showstopper. If third world countries had Academy Awards, that would probably be the Best Picture winner. Anyway, that's it for the weekend. Have a good rest of your week. Tomorrow's Monday. I'm sure something horrible will happen tomorrow. Until then, have a great weekend.
Throat been swollen. Just been trying to walk around.
A bandage around his waist, 26-year-old Tomas Diaz talks to us from his hospital bed at Scripps Mercy after he was shot Sunday by gunman Peter Sellis.
It hit me right in the side. Got my kidney. 25 stitches. Oh, not stitches, staples going down. So it's pretty painful.
It's not real. It's not real. It's not real.
I feel like my heart is gonna stop.
You'll be all right.
It feel like it's gonna stop.
You're gonna be all right.
It feel like it's gonna stop.
Lisa, she got lupus.
I just want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids?